cracks in the glass? David Collins had always believed in the simplicity of life, hard work, honesty, and building a home brick by brick with love. At 36, he had a modest home in the suburbs of Chicago, a stable job at a mid-sized marketing firm, and a marriage of 8 years with a woman he thought he knew like the back of his hand. Her name was Jenna. She was beautiful in the kind of way that made people pause. Not just because of her long auburn hair or her striking blue eyes, but because of how she carried herself. With elegance. With confidence. With charm. But David had been noticing changes. Late-night phone calls that ended when he walked in. New dresses. Perfume she never wore before. A sudden interest in going out, with friends, when she'd always preferred cozy nights in. At first, he thought he was being paranoid. Marriage had its ebbs and flows, didn't it? But the silence between them was growing. It wasn't just in the way she didn't kiss him goodbye in the mornings. It was in the way she smiled at her phone, a smile that hadn't been meant for him in months. David's boss, Richard Mason, was everything David wasn't: wealthy, charismatic, and unapologetically bold. He had taken over the company 3 years ago, and had quickly become a figure that most either admired or despised. David respected him, though he always kept his distance. Then came the day Jenna brought lunch to David's office. A rare surprise. He was in a meeting when she arrived. By the time he got out, she was gone. And so was Richard. The unspoken. The idea seemed absurd. David didn't even want to entertain it. But the whispers in the hallway had started. A colleague mentioned seeing Jenna and Richard at a downtown cafe, late, laughing, her hand touching his across the table. "Are you sure?" David asked. His voice didn't sound like his own. "Pretty sure, man. I mean, she was looking at him like they were more than friends. I didn't know what to say." That night, David confronted Jenna. "I need to ask you something," he said quietly as she loaded the dishwasher. She didn't look up. "What's that? Are you seeing someone?" The clatter of the plate hitting the sink was louder than necessary. She paused. "What kind of question is that?" "A serious one." She turned around slowly, drying her hands. "I'm not doing this with you, David. Not tonight. You've changed. I'm not blind. I've changed because I'm unhappy," she snapped, finally meeting his eyes. "Do you even know what I want anymore? Who I am?" Her voice was shaking. His heart was pounding. He felt like a stranger in his own home. "Is it him?" he asked. Jenna didn't reply. She didn't have to. The affair. The truth came out in fragments. Jenna didn't deny it. She didn't cry or beg. In fact, she looked more relieved than anything. "It just happened," she said one night. "He made me feel seen again." David sat across from her, the room cold with silence. "You're sleeping with my boss." "Yes." The word hit like a freight train. "He listens to me, David. He challenges me." "You..." She hesitated. "You stopped seeing me a long time ago." David couldn't speak. He felt like the world was collapsing. "And what? You're leaving me?" he finally whispered. "I don't know," she said. "But I can't live in this lie anymore." That night, David drove around for hours, lost in thought. He parked outside a 24-hour diner, staring at nothing, wondering where it all went wrong. Fallout. Over the next few weeks, the office became a war zone. Richard acted as if nothing had changed, cool, collected, smug. David, on the other hand, was unraveling. He started drinking more than usual. Missed deadlines. Argued with coworkers. His reputation was crumbling. Then one morning, HR called him in. "David, we're letting you go." Just like that. He packed his things in silence. Jenna didn't even call. Rebuilding. 2 months passed. David moved out of their home and into a small one-bedroom apartment near the lake. The silence was different here, not suffocating, just empty. One night, he opened an email from a startup company looking for a marketing director. He applied without thinking much of it. They hired him. It was the fresh start he never knew he needed. He began running every morning, cooking his own meals, learning to sit with the loneliness instead of drowning in it. And little by little, he started finding himself again. Closure. Almost a year had passed. He saw Jenna at a grocery store. She was alone. They locked eyes. "Hey," she said, almost timidly. "Hey," he replied. She looked thinner, tired, a shadow of the woman she once was. "I heard about the new job." "Congratulations." "Thanks," David said. "How's Richard?" Her smile faded. "It didn't last. He cheated." David nodded, emotionless. "I'm sorry for everything," she whispered. "I know," he said. "But I'm not sorry it's over." She looked away, blinking back tears. He walked past her without looking back. The echo of regret. 2 days after seeing Jenna in the grocery store, David sat on his balcony with a cup of black coffee and the lake breeze brushing his face. A year ago, the thought of seeing her again would have torn him up inside. Now, it felt like watching someone else's memory play out. He'd spent months piecing himself back together: therapy, workouts, late-night journaling, and letting himself cry when it hit too hard. He still remembered how Jenna had looked that day. Not just tired, lost. Like she had gambled everything and realized too late the house always wins. But he didn't pity her. She made a choice. And so had he. A new chapter. The new job at Blue Harbor Digital was exactly what David needed. The team was young, hungry, and creative. The CEO, Claire Benton, was sharp as a tack and had a no-nonsense style he appreciated. "You've got grit," she told him during his second week. "You're exactly what we need." Grit. That word stuck with him. He wasn't trying to prove anything anymore, not to Jenna, not to Richard, not even to himself. He just wanted to live with purpose again. Unexpected sparks. Her name was Rachel. She worked in content strategy, and had this sarcastic sense of humor that could cut through the heaviest room like a scalpel. They met during a brainstorm session about a product launch. "You're the guy who escaped the corporate circus," she joked. David smiled. "And you must be the ringmaster?" She laughed. "Nope. Just the lion who bites if you don't feed her coffee." Their friendship developed quickly: morning coffee runs, late nights at the office, sarcastic banter turning into deeper conversations. He learned she was divorced, had a dog named Max, and had grown up just outside of Boston. One night, after a late shift, she asked, "So what happened with your marriage?" David hesitated. "She fell in love with my boss," he finally said. "And I fell out of love with myself." Rachel nodded. "That's real. You're not bitter, though." "That's rare." "I was. But bitterness is heavy. I decided to stop carrying it." She looked at him for a long moment. "I like that." Back from the ashes. David's career soared at Blue Harbor. His fresh, grounded approach stood out in a world full of corporate fluff. His campaigns hit. His team trusted him. Claire gave him more responsibility. But it was more than that. He was living again. He joined a hiking group on weekends. Volunteered twice a month at a local shelter. Started writing again. He even adopted a dog, Rusty, a rescue with a crooked tail and a heart of gold. Rachel was becoming more than a colleague. Their friendship grew into something deeper. She made him feel safe, but also excited, like love didn't have to be a battlefield. One evening, walking their dogs after dinner, Rachel reached for his hand. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie moment. It was quiet. Real. And it felt right. The unexpected call. One cold December evening, David got a call from an unknown number. He didn't answer. A voicemail came through. "Hi, it's Jenna. I don't know why I'm calling. I saw your ad campaign. It was brilliant. You look happy. That's all. I guess I just wanted to say, I hope you're doing okay." He listened once. deleted it. Some stories didn't need sequels. Growth, not revenge. In the months that followed, David found a rhythm, a balance. He and Rachel started traveling together, cooking Sunday dinners, even adopting a second dog. One night, curled on the couch, Rachel asked, "Do you ever think about her?" David thought for a moment. "Sometimes. Not in a longing way. More like, remembering a place I once lived. It doesn't hurt anymore." "That's good." He looked at her, brushed a strand of hair from her face. "It's because of you. You helped me see myself again." She kissed him softly. "No. You did that on your own." Closure. It was nearly 2 years after the divorce when David ran into Richard at a corporate mixer. He was heavier now, a bit grayer. Still had that smug grin. "Well, if it isn't the golden boy," Richard said. "I hear Blue Harbor's been crushing it." "Good for you." David nodded. "Thanks. You still chasing interns?" Richard's grin faded. "Still bitter?" "No," David said. "Just better." He walked away, leaving the man speechless. And it felt good, not because he'd won, but because he no longer cared. The letter. One evening, while clearing out an old desk drawer, David found a letter. It was sealed. Handwritten. Jenna's name in the corner. Curiosity got the better of him. "David, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I started writing it after you moved out but never sent it. I just needed to say that I was wrong. What I did to you, what I did to us, was selfish. I blamed you for my emptiness instead of owning it. I thought Richard would fill a space in me that I didn't know how to fill myself. But it wasn't love. It was validation. And it cost me everything. You were good to me. You were real. And I ruined that. I hope you find someone who sees you, loves you, and stands by you. You deserve that. J**. David read it twice. He didn't cry. He folded it and tucked it back into the drawer, not to keep the memory, but to acknowledge it. Forgiveness, he'd learned, was not about forgetting. It was about no longer letting the past control you. Rachel's past. One quiet Sunday morning, Rachel and David sat on the porch sipping coffee when she said, "I never told you why my first marriage ended." David turned to her, surprised. "I cheated," she said, her voice low. "Not physically. But emotionally. I fell for someone else. Nothing happened, but it might as well have. I lied. I checked out." David didn't speak. Rachel looked down. "I was a different person back then. Selfish. Scared. I don't want to be that woman again." "You're not," David said softly. "We all have parts of us we've had to outgrow." She looked at him, her eyes glassy. "I don't want to hurt you." "You won't," he said. "Because we talk. We face things." She nodded. "I love you, you know." He reached over, squeezed her hand. "I love you too." A ring, a question. It wasn't flashy. David had never been the grand gesture type. On their anniversary, he took Rachel to a small Italian place in Lincoln Park. Over wine and tiramisu, he pulled out a velvet box. "No speeches," he said. "Just this, will you marry me?" Rachel stared at him, stunned. Then she laughed, eyes shining. "Yes. Yes." The restaurant applauded. David felt something bloom in his chest, something clean, new, and full of life. Jenna's new life. A mutual friend told David that Jenna had moved to Seattle and was working in a nonprofit. She was single. She'd gone back to school. David was glad for her, not because he missed her, but because healing looked good on anyone. Life had this strange rhythm, he realized. People came and went, mistakes were made, and sometimes, if you worked hard enough, growth bloomed from the cracks. He never reached out to Jenna. He didn't need to. Full circle. On their wedding day, Rachel looked radiant in a pale ivory dress. David wore a navy suit, no tie, just a white rose in his lapel and a smile he hadn't worn in years. As they stood under a canopy of late spring blossoms, exchanging vows written by hand, David felt the weight of his past finally lift. He wasn't the man Jenna betrayed anymore. He was the man who survived it. The man who loved again. And this time, he chose wisely, and was chosen in return. The final chapter. Years passed. David and Rachel built a life together, quiet, warm, steady. They traveled. They started a small creative agency together. They laughed. They fought sometimes, too. But they never let silence build walls between them. One evening, sitting by the fire with Rusty asleep at their feet, Rachel whispered, "Do you ever regret how things turned out?" David shook his head slowly. "No. Because it led me to this moment." "To you?" She smiled and leaned into him. The shadows of the past had long faded. All that remained was the light they'd built together,